back to another episode of the From the Farmyard podcast. This is a garden tour. I'm pulling out a few things right now. It's October, I think 17th right now. Everything's really dead. We do have a few things, and then I'm going to go over my not plan for next year, but just how this year has gone in general. The big thing that I'm really excited about, these marigolds. I am going to be saving seeds from these lighter colored ones because they look fantastic. I just need to come out here and put them so I know which ones I want to save seeds from, and just selectively save seeds from them. I don't know how well you can see me. It's very dark out here today. More marigolds. They're doing really well, actually. I'll save some from this guy as well. These are a bit smaller, but I've had turkeys come through and decimate them because they kept getting out. So that's the struggle. I'm in the process of cleaning out this entire garden because it needs to be done, but I'm trying to get ready for winter and all of that stuff. Let me take this bucket over here. So just pulling weeds, getting everything prepared for winter. We are putting a garden or our greenhouse cover on this year. Sorry if you cannot hear me. We are putting our greenhouse cover on, which we have not had on since the podcast has begun. Just didn't put it on last year. It wasn't a lot of a struggle. It just didn't really work the year before. But I've learned a lot since then. So that will be a thing. The other thing that's actually still producing very well, over here first. I'm all over the place right now, y'all. My mind is, HOA was this past weekend, so my mind's everywhere, trying to get things ready. I'm feeling revived, really prepared now. Got kind of burnt out, which I don't like to admit, but garden stuff really fell behind, and that's my fault. But I'm gonna push through now more than ever. You cannot see me. The lighting's awful. You know, just these few pepper plants are actually, they're not producing anything. Well, actually, kind of. Oh, there actually is a pepper down here. So yeah. These guys are still doing good. I'm not going to tear them out. If I can try to get them to survive in the greenhouse, then I will. Would require some transplanting, which I don't want to do, but I think we're going to get a freeze before then, so I'm just going to take my chances and just grow more peppers next year. I waited a bit, which I will get into in a minute, with peppers and things like that. And if you've been watching the podcast, we do have a video up on that of what to do with your peppers and things like that. Things will be linked at the end. I did come out here and harvest a bunch of these. They are starting to die. A lot of that brown is actually sunflower that has fallen over. But we do have some cucamelons still. The cucamelons are actually doing really well, all things considered. So I will be continuing to grow those next year. I was really on the fence about them. Well, this will be a good segue into how the past garden year went. It was a really, I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of a bad year gardening. Only things that really did well were tomatoes, and even those didn't do well everywhere, and flowers. I'm gonna go more in depth with this stuff, as in depth as I can get with these things, because it is important. One thing that I wish that I would have done better is managing my spaces, which they can get away from us all. I did have a little bit of a midsummer depression, which has led to the garden looking like this for a while. It hasn't been that bad. We still pulled a lot of food, which is wonderful. It just shows you the determination that things have to grow, but it was not helpful for the garden. The garden suffered greatly from it, where we could have been pulling in 3 or 4 times the amount of food that we actually got. This winter is going to come with a lot of work in the garden, along with a lot of growing certain things, or not growing certain things. Well, yeah, growing certain things, because I'm going to be growing my knowledge. I'm going to put to use everything into a little journal. I did start one this year. Did I keep up with it? No. So I will probably reuse the same one from last year. Change some things around, document things better. It's really what I want to do in the garden. I just did not work out that way. But this year is going to be different. I'm stepping up my game, because this was not a good year with that. The tomatoes did really well this year. Produced a lot. I am going to be using the same practices, but also changing some of my practices to different things, because it's important to learn and grow and try to find something that works best. So I am going to try a new method next year on a few different tomatoes and see if I can notice any bit of a difference. That will not be until next year, obviously, because the tomatoes can't grow tomatoes this time of year. Although we are going to, my mom has wanted me to try to do some in the house, which, how that's going to work, I don't know. Whether I document that or not, I need to document it, because I think it's going to be really interesting. But yeah, we have a lot of things not happening right now. It is like winding into the dead season of gardening. I am just doing what I can, saving seeds where I can, and stuff like that. Beans didn't really do as good as I thought they would, and a lot of people thought they would. It was a really weird year with weather and everything, but the cucamelons have done really well. Corn did not do good at all. I have no clue what it was. It's probably partly my fault, but I think all gardeners had a really bad time with a lot of crops. And sometimes you can't help it. I mean, obviously it's the weather. You can't completely change that. You can't dictate it. You just have to continue working best ways to do things and continually grow. And that's what I've had to do. That's what a lot of people have had to do because of things. Peppers, didn't really have a lot of success with those. I've since realized what I've done wrong. Grew them in the pools, but I didn't have enough soil, which we'll do a video on stuff like that later on. But that is one downside. I was not realizing the amount of soil and stuff like that. I should have put more, but I did not. All in all, this year has been a learning curve in gardening. It has not been the best year, but it has not been the worst year. At least we were able to grow food, preserve some. I just picked a bunch of pickles, or cucamelons for pickles. There's a video on our channel Reagan did of how to make cucamelon pickles. I suggest you guys going to watch that if you're interested. And yeah, so there are a lot of things that are really, really cool. From this year, I just learned a ton of garden maintenance stuff, but also what I was doing wrong, what things need to be changed, what things should be changed, how to do different things. Also, preparing spaces well in advance and not when you are ready to plant is a good thing. So yeah, this year was not the best year. It wasn't the worst year, but it's been a year. Haven't really planted carrots, but potatoes have done really well. Next year, I'm bringing a lot of new concepts to my garden. I'm going to be prepared for next year. This year I was not prepared. Next year I'm going to be prepared. I have a plan going into next year, loosely written down, and I will be doing what I can to certain things. I'm really excited about the upcoming year. And it's still a few months out, but more than a few. But it's going to be a good year no matter what. a lot of new concepts, a lot of new things to bring to the podcast, to bring to my garden, to ultimately improve what's happening around here. And it's about making things more efficient, building community, things like that. But in the garden, it's more so making things efficient. You want things to be efficient, so you're not just, like this year was my wasteful year. Didn't waste a lot of produce, but it wasn't the best year, all in all, with growing things like that. But I know what I did wrong, I know what I can do next time, and I know how to improve myself, which is a really big part in learning. Knowing what you did wrong and how you can fix it. I'm going to do these things now. I'm going to have my spaces prepared for next year, so all I have to do is weed in the spring if any weeds come up, or however I choose to do things. But yeah, it's getting these things done, preparing your spaces, knowing what you're doing, having a plan beforehand, which I know some things are impulse, so I'm not saying you have to have a plan for the impulse things, but a loose plan is good for those. But long-term things, and none of these things are long-term. I can move any of this stuff around. I can move my 7x5 garden bed over here, and I can put my kiddie pools over there if I wanted to. But I'm not, because it's how I have things right now. It's a good setup. We planned things out. I know where things need to go, I know how things need to go, things like that. If I could go back, would I change things? Probably not, because they've turned out so well. I am planning on adding a few beds next year. Those are going to be done this winter before spring, or I have to get them done in the spring because I want them to be more for fall planting. Either way, but things will be moved, things will be happening, and I'm excited for where this journey will take me, if you will. I hope you guys can learn something from my mistakes and go forward and not make those mistakes. It's why we're here, is to teach you from our mistakes so you do not make those same mistakes. If you do make them, you know a way to fix them. But yeah, thank you guys for watching another, the last of my garden tours for the year, on the From the Farmyard podcast, and we hope to see you guys in the next one. Thank you all for watching, and bye.